But now I want y'all all to meet my favorite teacher, one of my favorite people on the planet, my favorite possibly, obviously. She is my mama. This is Jeannie. So, thank you for being on my show, Mom. But I really want you to tell everybody what were a couple things you told me when you found out I had a TV show. What was your advice?
You have a show.
I know. It's crazy.
I mean, as a parent, you know, when you get those report cards and everything and you see those, you know, needs improvement. Well,
talks too much.
Talks too much. In fact, all my kids were talks too much. But
just funny because you're kind of shy.
I know. I didn't know where you guys came from.
I know.
I mean, I hardly ever talked, but you guys all
don't stop.
Didn't stop.
Yeah, but it paid off.
I know. You have a show. Look at this.
But my favorite thing you said, though, is when I had it, it's actually the same advice you gave me when I was on Idol, which was 17 years ago, so things haven't changed. But she was like, can you watch your mouth? Yes. So were you ever written up in school, John? I bet not. I bet you were perfect.
I was near perfect.
We're related. I was, too.
I was, well, yeah. I was a nerd. I was like #2 in my high school class.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow.
You were who my mom wanted, but she got this. I just like to call it creative, John. No, I did. I never got written up. I was never bad, but I did talk a lot.
Yeah.
But some of the most interesting people weren't like perfect students. They just like.
That's what I think,
Their
John.
brain works differently, and they're like interesting and creative, and sometimes they don't conform to what. You know, the teachers and the principals want, but they're really interesting people anyway.
Exactly, that's what I say. So a lot of people, they don't realize that you're a teacher. My mom was a teacher, and I always brag on that because literally the greatest teacher ever. Like I've seen her in action, like when I was a kid, like she's so great, and she spent her own time, her own money. So, you know what I'm saying? She just really went above and beyond, and she's amazing. But what made you want to be a teacher? I don't know if I've ever asked you this, which is rude.
Well, as I was growing up, I had good teachers and I had some that were not so good. And I learned wonderful things from the good teachers, and then I felt so bad for, not so much for myself because I behaved, but some of the kids that had a hard time sitting still and doing things, I mean, some of those teachers were really rude and they were mean, and I thought, I don't ever want to be that way. And I want kids to want to come to school. I want them to love, you know, learning. I want them to be a lifelong learner because I am. Mm-hmm. And I want it to be fun. I want to meet them at the door and, you know, welcome them in. And I want them to love it.
Amazing teacher. I will not stop talking until you subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's right, and I can talk a lot. Seriously, not gonna stop. Yep, still here, not going anywhere. I see you. Don't walk away from this.